Hello.
Hi, it's Thursday the 13th of May.
It's 7 o'clock.
And you're just in time for
The 7 o'clock show.
Yes, it's Thursday the 13th, which means tomorrow will be our final show.
No, it can't be.
Yes, Steve, it really is, but don't be so worried.
Don't worry. How could I not worry? It's Thursday the 13th. That means Jason will be back.
Jason, I don't think he will.
Yes, I know you think he's dead, but they always do. But he always comes back for revenge.
Well, Steve, come on, he won't.
And what if he's not alone? What if he's brought Freddy Krueger with him, or Michael Myers?
Steve, pull yourself together. It's Thursday, not Friday. Jason only comes back on Friday the 13th. Not Thursday the 13th. Friday.
That's just what he wants you to think.
Steve, even if he is real, which is not, do you seriously think he would come to Hull?
I suppose you're right.
And besides, the only person bringing Mike Myers back from Halloween is Rob Zombie.
Zombie?
Here's what's coming up on today's show.
They're from Hull, but they're bringing a Latin vibe guitar duo Farina join us in the studio.
In Take 7, Jamie Kellick is on a mission to detect paranormal activity.
In Seven Thrilled, our roving reporter, Mike Crisp, pays the spirits of Ye Old White Hart a visit.
In 7 Chilled, take the test to see if you have what it takes to survive a zombie holocaust in Resident Evil 5.
And in Classic 7, Jed and Emma debate whether Wes Craven's Scream is enough to make your head spin or just simply vomit.
But first off, we are joined by a duo who have got Santa quirking in his boots.
It's Farina.
Hey guys.
Hi.
How long has the band been together?
2 3/4 years now?
Like that, nearly 3 years. Yeah.
Yep, nearly 3 years.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Who was it that first put the band together?
I suppose it was kind of you, wasn't it?
Yes.
In a sense.
Yeah, we was looking to do a recital performance, and Graham suggested that he should perform with me, and we'll just sort of take it from there, really.
So how did you come up with the name for the band then?
Farina. It comes from Tony Farina, which was a Steve Coogan character. And since we was playing Latin music, and obviously English, we kind of saw the irony in that. That's where it came from.
So you're a fan of Steve Coogan and his comedy?
Yep.
Yeah. Think much of Alan Partridge?
Yeah, I love him.
Hero.
Yeah. He is a legend, isn't he?
Not a musical influence, though.
No, unfortunately not, unless you're going to be played on the radio. Have you had any memorable gigs or any crazy times on set?
I think the most memorable gig was up in Scotland. And we ended up playing with some kind of techno-folk group with a very strange combination.
Banana sessions.
The Banana Band. Yeah.
Getting together in the pub with all the locals and all the kind of bagpipes and kind of
Quite a bit
fiddles
of
and
a
everything.
jam then.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great.
So, what is it with Purple Worm Records? We've heard you've signed up by them. What do they do for you? How good are they for you?
They're brilliant for us. They let us use the recording facilities. We can go in there, record the albums, the singles. They release them all for us. They get them out on Believe, which is the digital distribution.
Cool.
iTunes, things like that.
Yeah, so we can send them worldwide.
Yeah, do they pay for it at all?
We get the money back from any sales that we sell on the internet. So yeah, we can kind of make some nice money.
That's really good. What does your album sound like?
A mixture.
The first album was a little bit rough and ready because we were just sort of learning to play together then. But the second album's a bit more polished and it's got lots more instruments on, different people playing different instruments, so it's got different textures and things like trumpets.
Music
like
from around the world, really. Yeah. Just all influences that we've.
That sounds brilliant, guys. Thanks for coming in. And now here is your brilliant new video for the track Catalyst. that was Freno with their video for Catalyst. What did you think of it, Lauren?
It gave me the chills that the speed that they play at.
Speaking of chills, have you noticed how cold it is in the studio?
Yeah, I'm just thinking maybe it's the aircon or something.
Maybe, or...
Or what?
Well, you know why we got these jobs, don't you?
Because the presenters that we replaced got offered better pay on the one show?
No, because they vanished.
What do you mean they vanished? They can't just vanish.
Well, legend has it, HBTV Studios is haunted by a ghost, and one night the presenters were rehearsing lines alone in the studio when they heard a noise. They went to investigate, and they haven't been seen since.
Steve, that's rubbish. You really don't believe in that, do you?
I'd never rule it out as a possibility. Even if it's not true, the paranormal is always a good plot for a horror film.
Well, then you'll love tonight's Take 7.
In tonight's Take 7, the usher, Jamie Kelwick, reviews 2009's box office hit Paranormal Activity.
The film was released earlier this year on Blu-ray and DVD, so let's see if it's worth adding to your collection.
Welcome to Take 7. Today I'm going to be talking about one of the big horror Blu-ray and DVD releases. This one is Paranormal Activity. Now you might know a little bit about the story about this one because it only actually cost $15,000 to make.
Got a high-def camera on. My girlfriend Katie, she thinks there's something in the house. I don't know.
You believe me, right?
Doors are locked, alarm is on. If anything walks through here, it's gonna leave a pretty good footprint.
Did you hear that? Oh my god.
There's footsteps in, but there's no footsteps out.
You cannot run from this. It will follow you.
Now $15,000 is probably the one day's catering budget on something like an Iron Man 2 or a Pirates of the Caribbean. But this one is a little bit different. Now Hollywood has been making endless sequels and remakes of some really good old horror movies. But this one is the first original film to really come out of Hollywood in a long time.
I feel it breathing on me.
Looks like something big here.
You stop following me with the camera!
I'm in control.
It's all shown from the point of view of a camera, and you watch what happens during the night to a young couple. Both first-time actors, very well played and very, very, very creepy. If you love your horror, if you love watching something what's very, very different, and if you want to know a bit about making short, low-budget movies, this is the film for you to watch, and it's going to guarantee you some really good scares.
Paranormal Activity, rated R.
Please, 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 please.
You demanded it.
Oh my god, that looks so scary. I don't think I could watch that by myself.
I thought you didn't believe in the paranormal.
Well, I do, but I just don't like scary films.
Well, maybe you should have stayed at home tonight, Lauren, because tonight's show is all about horror films and things that are a bit spooky.
It's okay, Steve. It would take me more than that to scare me.
What, like a bad hair day?
Yeah, that is my worst nightmare.
Well, I know one guy who is fearless. Our very own roving reporter, Mike Crisp, for 7 Thrilled.
In 7 Thrilled, we sacrificed our roving reporter Mike Crisp on what could be his final mission to a local pub, which would give the Addams family a goosebumps. Here's how they got on at Old White Hart.
Around in the spirit world. Joining me tonight at a local home, in the literal sense, the Old White Hart in Hull's Old Town, which as legend has it, is haunted. Now everybody knows I ain't afraid of no ghosts, but if you're in the mood to get spooked tonight, who are you going to call? Well, no, we don't have Ghostbusters for you tonight, but we do have Pat O'Malley, and here he is.
I'm the only living resident in the old building, and I do the tours and talks of the building for people from all over the world. I was lying in bed one December morning, and you can imagine what it's like at 10 to 7 in the morning, quite dark outside and very cold. So I'm facing the wall. As I decided to turn onto my back to lift myself out of bed, there was a woman in full Victorian dress. Her face was just a light, just a dull light. She had no facial features that I could see. She had a little white cap on her head, like little frills around it, and she was carrying something. Her hands were exactly the same as her face, just this dull light. And that's it. And she walked towards the corner of the room. I just blinked, gave off an expletive, and she was gone. So I was sat outside, I was reading my newspaper, and I just noticed ink print on my hands. I didn't want to get it all over my jeans, so I went down to the toilets to wash my hands. That's all I went down there for. While I'm washing my hands, I went to dry them. Beautiful day, as I said, not a care in the world. I went to dry my hands, and as I turned to go back, there's a dark, shrouded figure stood by the doorway. It was so there. It was like, normally you see things out the corner of your eye, and then when you look, there's nothing there. But as I turned towards it, it was full on. And I just sort of stepped back like 2 or 3 steps, gave off some expletive and blinked, and it was gone. They will hide things from you when you most need them. For example, I've been there. Now, what I normally do is I say, right, that's it. I'm going out the room. I'm coming back in 2 minutes. Just put it back where it was. And when I go back, they usually do. It's there. Where I originally left it, where I knew it was. But yeah, now, I'm not the only one. There's a number of people in the pub. The landlord, the landlady, the staff, everybody gets the same thing. The cellar key goes missing, and then they come back about 2 minutes later. It's exactly where they left it. When I was, again, before I actually lived here, but I had the keys to the place, the landlord had just gone up 15 minutes earlier, and the barman had left with his girlfriend, and the gates were locked. It was just me in the pub. I was left with just the wall lights on in the main bar. Everything else was out. And while I was sat there, I heard the old creaking of wood. But jokingly I said, behave yourselves in there now, keep the noise down, as I always like to talk to the ghosts. And with that, I got this like a bamboo swooshing through the air. Very clear, very loud. And the hairs, that's the only sound, the hairs in the back of my neck went straight up, like that. Of course, it happened again within seconds. So I got out of the chair, walked over to that room, I stood at the foot of the staircase, and then I got this final, and this time it came right past my ear, and I could feel it, literally. I turned to where it came from on the staircase. There was nothing there, and that's the only time I have been that close to legging it.
Mike and his adventures at the White Hart later in the show.
And if ghosts and haunted pubs aren't quite your thing, still looking to get spooked tonight, maybe you might find Seven Chilled more your tipple. Tonight in Seven Chilled, we will be reviewing the latest in a series of Resident Evil games.
The Resident Evil games has sold over 40 million games, and the franchise includes comic books, action figures, and films.
Here Steve reviews Resident Evil in 7 Chilled.
Released in 2007 and made by Capcom, Resident Evil is one of PlayStation's longest-serving and most successful protégés, and is now available on the Xbox 360 as well as the PlayStation 3 console.
I knew it from the moment I arrived. There's no reason here. No humanity. Everywhere I look, I find vacant stares. All I see is death.
The various Resident Evil spin-offs has sent the series off kilter, hence why the number 5 is quite deceiving. Resident Evil 5, however, returns the franchise to form with Special Operative Chris Redfield, 10 years after the events of the first and original Resident Evil game. Chris is now a member and agent of the Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance, investigating and preventing biological outbreaks.
Kijutsu is our home!
On the way, they see a local being fed a parasite, turning him into a Mangini, which is effectively a zombie. Playing as Chris Redfield, you must restore order to the territory while investigating the origins of the infection. So, where does the game fall short? Well, overall, it is too much like its predecessor, Resident Evil 4. I mean, it's admirable to emulate such a great and respected piece of work. However, there is not enough variation between the two. The only differences between the two are in the game, location, and console format.
Welcome to Africa.
Resident Evil is available now at the recommended retail price of $44.99.
I may not be as big as you, but I can still hold my own.
No worries. My last partner was a woman, too.
So, in the end, well, I saw you say I'm dead.
Much.
Didn't want it. How did that go? What film did she choose?
Well, she wanted to go see the remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Was it as scary as the original?
She didn't seem to think so.
Steve, it's just a film. It really can't hear you. The worst thing it could do is make you scream.
"12 years after directing A Nightmare on Elm Street, King of Horror, Wes Craven, directed Scream, which led to an explosion of slasher films. So, Jed and Emma, what's your favourite scary movie?"
Hi, welcome to Classic 7. I'm Jed and this is Emma, and like they said, tonight's genre is horror. We're looking at Scream, but...
I quite like 28 Days Later. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, and there's also quite a scary episode of Buffy called The Hush, which scares the bejesus out of me.
Buffy. I quite like The Strangers, if you've ever seen that. Can you tell us a bit about Scream?
Yeah, for the synopsis, what happens is Sidney Prescott is having a bit of a rough year. About a year ago, mother's been raped and murdered by a vicious serial killer. Now, another serial killer's popped up in Woodsboro with a penchant for scary films, and he stalks people by phoning them up and asking if they like scary movies. So that's basically what happens, and you spend the whole film trying to work out, as you do in a lot of horror films, who the killer is.
You see, I watched the film, but I made the mistake of watching a scary movie first, so I could not take any of Scream serious. I just kept on getting flashbacks to Scary Movie.
Well, you see, Scary Movie is like a parody of Scream, so Scream was the original and the best, in my opinion. So didn't you find it scary?
No, I just honestly couldn't relate to it at all. Like, every bit, I had never seen Scream before, I watched it for this show, and every bit came up, I just couldn't take it serious, I just thought of the movie bits, and I ended up just chuckling. It's the childishness in me, I guess.
Well, yeah, it is funny. And the killer's actually funny in it. So you do identify with the killer in a lot of ways. When he goes to kill Tatum in the garage, do you remember that bit?
Yeah, I remember that bit.
Yeah, and she asks him, if he wants to play a serial killer, he just does a nod like that. So you start identifying with him, and he is funny. Yeah. But I can't believe you didn't find anything scary at all.
No, it didn't make me jump. I've seen many films where they make me jump and heaven forbid scream, but...
Well, I think it made me jump a lot, and I think why was because they broke all the conventions. Because they killed off Drew Barrymore in the first scene, they broke all the conventions of horror films, apart from, of course, Psycho, because they did that there. So throughout, after that, you just thought, what's going to happen now? If they can do that, what will they do next?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting for the time. I guess 1998 was around when cell phones were starting to become big, and the way the killer used the phone to contact his victims, I thought that was something new and slightly entertaining. But apart from that, I didn't think the movie was too great, I'm afraid.
Horror films have been accused of being sexist a lot of times, the way that they fight off like teenage girls and everything. They stalk big-breasted women who are running away. Neve Campbell actually says that in the film.
Well, you don't want to kill an ugly person. It's basicness, isn't it, really? You want to kill someone attractive, and
You want to kill someone attractive?
Yeah, that's taking my words out of context. I'll have the police knocking at my door when I get in.
You certainly will. So what the actual film theory says is that actually some horror films aren't sexist because what they make you do is they identify with the heroine who survives to the end, and they call that the final girl.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, I studied film studies, and the final girl is like the pure girl that doesn't do anything bad and survives. But in the film, the final girl is, I guess, Neve Campbell, and she does do all the wrong conventions and still survives, which I guess that I suppose it was the surprise ending, I guess.
Yeah, they do. So it sets up all the conventions, tells you what they are. It's very funny, but then it breaks them at the end, and she survives in a good way. I think it's fab.
I'm going to give it a thumbs down just because I couldn't take it serious.
Thumbs up.
Thanks, Jed and Emmett. We'll see you again tomorrow for another classic film debate.
Now, we saw him earlier with Patrick O'Malley at the White Hart. Now here's part 2 of Mike's 7 Thrilled horror special with a tour of Ye Old White Hart. Let's see if you can spot any ghosts.
This is where I was when that particular chap raced from over there, was sat there, and he disappeared into here, where you can see that was a tunnel entrance. There's 12 horsemen in these fireplaces. Keep it for later. I'll explain the skull, the oval window, the arch, that tile, all has a reason at the end of this tour. If you look here, you'll see fire damage on the staircase. There was a fire in 1809. The landlord at the time was a guy called John Clarkson. He was badly burned in the fire. His daughter was killed. Note these. Remember what I said about the skull, the oval window, the arched door, the tile in the fireplace? All these are connected. The swords in the middle of the fireplace date back to the 17th century. They were found with the skull the first time the skull was found in 1881. Hence, as you can see on the plaque on the fireplace, which says found during the restoration of 1881. There are numerous symbols in this beautifully carved Jacobean fireplace, which also suggests, remember the skull, remember the rest of it, all got purpose. Now behind this cabinet here, there is another door you have to take my way through. I'll show you where it led. Now, this was a secret room, and the only way to this room was where I've just showed you from. Behind that cabinet there was a secret door. This window didn't exist. This was all done in the 1881 restoration. So now we are in a genuine priest hall behind a staircase. And if you look, you can see the staircase behind. So here we are, secret staircase. Remember the tunnels which I talked about earlier? The tunnels led to Holy Trinity Church, Sanctuary, or to the river, Escape. Now the interesting thing here as well, remember I said about it being a pub at some point, after it was the ancient palace of military governors. It became a pub somewhere between 1750 and 1778. We're not sure of the dates, all we know is last time it was mentioned as a private residence, 1750. First time it's mentioned as a pub or an inn is 1778. This is where the skull was originally found in 1881 with the swords. But in 1881, the skull disappeared again. And it re-emerged in 1937 in another secret room in the roof space. And the room I'm going to take you to in a moment will give you an idea of where all these little clues I've been adding to all come to fruition. As I said to you, I'm the only living resident in the old building, and I've met so many of the non-living residents. Now this room was redesigned in the 19th century. To be exact, 1881. So in 1881, those guys that I told you about who found the skull in that secret room with those swords and did that restoration, they were Freemasons. And they created this room as it is today. Now those guys were Freemasons, they knew this was a Masonic place long before they ever came here. And that's why they did what they did. And it was in 1937 when the skull was rediscovered in a room just above where we are now, in the attic space. Some workmen found it. The skull is used in the 3rd degree of Freemasonry to create a Master Mason. Don't ask me how, I'm not a Freemason, but I know that it is in fact a part of a ritual that they do. And that's why the skull is here. It was brought here.
Well, if you think you're brave enough to face things that go bump in the dark, you should definitely check out Ye Old White Hart in Hull's Old Town. I've been Mike Chris for a report for the 7 o'clock show. Back to you in the studio, guys.
So, Lauren, were you scared by the White Hart pub?
Not really. I mean, to some people it could be scary, but I'm not scared of ghosts.
I'm
I don't
scared
believe
of
in
ghosts.
it.
Like, I'm really petrified about the concept
What
of
they're going
ghosts.
to
I
do,
believe
come
in
out and go, at you?
If you watch Most Haunted with Derek Acora, he would scare the living Jesus off you. Honestly,
wouldn't.
he is so scary, like.
Well, if you want to find out your own opinion, and just take a tour of the White Old Hart as part of the Hull Ghost Walk, which runs every Monday at 7 from March to October.
We'd like to thank our sponsors, the Abbey Pub and the Solo Hair Group.
Join us tomorrow for our final show when we'll be going out of a bang.
I'm Steve Dobson.
I'm Lauren Berslam, and you've been watching
The 7 o'clock show.
show.